Hello and welcome to this video on the Patching Panda Vibrazum. Let's check out what's to come before we get into it. Now this is a triple filter module. We have an input, of course. With input level we can drive into this filter. We've then got 3 filters with individual cutoff controls and individual CV inputs. The first filter can be low pass or band pass, the middle is always a band, and the right hand output, the third one, is band or high pass. We can blend all of these onto the mix out or take them out individually. We have a bipolar CV control and CV input for the shift control, which will collectively take all 3 filter peaks and shift them together. So you could have 3 band passes tuned up differently, quite resonant. We also have resonance CV in, which is nice. You don't always get that on a filter. And then move these 3 filters around with the shift control or the CV input. They're 24 dB per octave filters. We can drive it. We can get nice filter pings. I want to go through a lot of patches in this video. Skip around as you see fit. There's a timing index on screen and linked in the description, so you can skip around, see the raw sound, see these different patches. Lots of stuff to get to. Let's dive in. So here we'll take a look at the raw filter sound. And to hear the low pass in isolation, I'm coming out of the first filter's output, set to low pass. Shift I'm going to leave in the middle, no res. We'll drop the input gain a little bit. And there's our low pitched saw wave. With some resonance. Let's check that out with a band pass. And to hear the high pass, we'll have to go over to the third filter, flick that into high pass mode. And the way that this cuts into the wave, it's great. Those mids are really rich, kind of crunchy. Bit more input level, some res. Of course, hearing them in isolation is only kind of half the picture, but I wanted to demo that so you could get the raw character of these filters. Coming out with, say, a triple band pass, or high, low on a band. Is really where this starts to shine. So playing around with stereo imaging and the weighting of a tone, filtering it differently, hard left and right, is always good fun. Now the middle frequency here is just feeding the spectrograph on the Modex data, and the low pass and the high pass filters 1 and 3 are coming out into punch, some dynamic envelope and accent triggering with those VCAs, going hard left and right into my mixer. And let's first just listen to these filters without going through punch. And this is a simple ramp wave on the way in. That shifting filtered stereo movement is always welcome in my book. So low pass and high pass again out into both sides. Kick and hat. So here's a patch using Vibrazum again to create a stereo image. Really dirty effects trail being processed by the filter, and I'll go through the patch. Here's the dry sound. Now this feeds my effects chain, which is a spring reverb and a glitchy, dirty, distorted PT delay. Opening up this filter. Here's that effects trail. Now with no modulation of this first filter, frequency 1, and coming direct out of it, in mono down the centre of my mix, we can hear the input sound coming in. Now I'm going to filter this back. And we'll come back to that. Frequency 2 and 3, the middle and right hand filters set to bandpass, hard left and right, different LFOs modulating them. Make sure you've got some headphones on or decent speakers, and I'm also modulating the resonance of the whole thing with another LFO. Now put the dry sound back in. And with a simple melodic sine wave, really pure tone, dirty effects trail, all that noise swooshing around Vibrazum, makes for a really nice kind of 3D effect space. So with free filters and filter peaks to modulate, Vibrazum is a great phaser. So I zoomed out so you can see the whole patch. It's a really simple one. I'm using the Trident, but this is just a simple pulse, first coming into Vibrazum, then into Font, which is a low pass filter. And I have an LFO into shift, low pass, band pass, and high pass, all kind of tuned nicely, quite resonant, and it's just working like a phaser before it hits this second low pass filter. And it just gives this pulse, this nice moving character. But because I'm using a blend of low, high and band passes, this filtering from Vibrazum never closes down to kind of nothing. If the low pass is closed, the high pass is going to be open, and that band's moving around as well. So there you have it, lovely phaser from Vibrazum. So this patch is all about animation and dynamic, quite well modulated animation. Now if you see me reaching over to the left, I'm moving the FM depth on my oscillator. I'll remove the drums and I'll change the FM. So it's just a sequenced saw wave, basic oscillator, into Vibrazum, then into punch. Now I'll skip out Vibrazum so you can hear what punch is doing. One busier trigger pattern with some probability to those envelopes and an accent pattern. So punch is giving us a lot of dynamics in the amplitude to play with. Go watch the punch video after this one, I'll link it in the description. And here's going through Vibrazum. We can hear it sounds like there's multiple layers of filtering going on. Back through punch. And being able to collectively shift what seems like these free moving layers. Just gives us tons of stuff to go at. So here we'll explore audio rate modulation. The Lissajous curve in the XY mode on the scope is simply the input against the filtered output. Have a low pitch saw wave coming in, and we're just listening to the out, no modulation. So here's a filter sweep with all three of these set to bandpass. Now let's add some modulation in, and I'll sweep the depth control. Let's just listen to the low pass output, first out. And sweep the rate of this audio rate modulation. Now because Vibrazum has these free filters and these free peaks, it's an absolute ping machine. And the idea of pinging a filter is to take a very near oscillating filter, so very high resonance, but not a resonance that is actually oscillating and droning, and use the audio input with a trigger to just excite this circuit. And that's exactly what's going on here. I can tune these bands in. And then shift them collectively. I'll add some modulation back in. Nice wet kind of ringy filter pings. Bringing my effects back in, which is a clocked delay and some spring reverb. Real kind of ping machine, as I said. So here Vibrazum is set up in a delays feedback path. Now if I actually mute my dry audio in my mixer, and this is the feedback loop around this delay. So feed my delay again, bring my dry back in, and turn the filter down. So let's tune these filters in. Plenty of res gives us that nice kind of runaway trail. And then we can shift all three filters. And of course, riding resonance and level, we can have as much feedback or as little feedback as we want. So Vibrazum makes for a great 3D stereo image over a couple of oscillators and this drum beat. Let's hear this patch in isolation in terms of Vibrazum's filtering. And I'm coming out of the sum output purely to feed the eye candy on the scope, but the individual outputs are coming into my mixer. Now the sound we're listening to is the left output, the first frequency. And that has some audio rate modulation, and the audio rate modulation source is being modulated, hence this sweeping kind of weird sound. And hard left and right, both set to be bandpass. Here these are in stereo with envelopes coming in to modulate them. Resonance is also being modulated by an LFO. Drums back in. Resonance right down, input up full. Now in this patch, we're going to use Vibrazum to extract different bits of audio information from this beat and feed different processing chains. This is all mixed in mono, but I'm using 3 channels on my mixer and the 3 outputs on Vibrazum. Now the first is the first filter set to low pass. So rather than muting it on my mixer, I could perform with that low pass filter to bring all the energy out and just leave this sub going. Or turn it right down and cut it off. Now the second output is the bandpass, and this is feeding a spring reverb. So you can shift that emphasis as to where this reverb sits. I like it up there, kind of sizzling in the top end. My third output is a delay. So again, performing with the filter rather than say level control and mutes on a mixer. Nice washy top. And you just start to tease in this kind of main output, the low pass filtered version. It's just an interesting way and a useful way I've been using Vibrazum to feed different effects chains, to create these different layered kind of textures that slot into the different frequency bands. So that's it for this video. Hit like, subscribe, support the work I do on patreon.com/DivKid. If not, leave a comment anyway. I'll hopefully chat to you soon. And I'll see you next time. Don't forget to check out the video for Punch and hats by Patching Panda, linked in the description. Cheers.